Trudy Mason and Sarah DeHay sitting in for Aaron and Natasha for the next few days. And this is a story you've probably been hearing in the news for months. Up at Notre-Dame-des-Neiges Cemetery, a labor dispute, very bitter. There are two bargaining units up there. One of them walked off the job last fall. The other followed a few months later and left in the lurch. Our families either desperate to visit their loved ones who are not able to because the grounds have become so unkempt that they are unsafe, particularly after the ice storm destabilized all kinds of branches and trees, or people waiting to bury their loved ones who have seen their bodies in storage for months now. Our Labour Minister, Quebec Labour Minister Jean BOULET, had said he was due to speak both with the unions and cemetery management today. He's on the line with us now, and he'll be telling us whether he was able to do that. Minister BOULET, welcome to CJD.
Good afternoon, Sarah. How are you doing?
Well, hello. We're doing very well. Were you able to speak to both parties in this labour dispute today?
Yes, of course. This morning I met up with the union representatives, and this afternoon I met with the management people. So I had two interesting meetings with both sides.
And the upshot being, is there any optimism for a settlement?
We have to be optimistic. There is a disproportion between the human consequences of such a labor conflict and what's at stake at the negotiating table. So I made sure that they understood the situation. They were sincere. They were in good faith. We have to put an end to the conflict. And I proposed to the parties to appoint a dispute arbitrator as quickly as they present a request for me to do so. And again, it would put an end to the conflict as soon as I defer the case to an arbitrator.
So, Minister BOULET, we are now waiting for the parties to request someone to arbitrate, and then you would choose that person.
Of course, it would be an independent, neutral person who was recommended to my attention and by the Comité consultatif travail et main-d'œuvre, so where the unions and the main employers associations in Quebec sit. So those arbitrators have the power, the capacity to decide what's in dispute between the parties. And again, it would put an end to the conflict. And at the end of the hearing, this person would decide what should be included in the collective bargaining agreement.
So it would be binding arbitration, Minister
Yes.
BOULET. Would the strike be called off while that process was unfolding, or would the strike continue until the end?
No, the strike would be stopped as soon as I appoint an arbitrator. So if, for example, I receive two demands, and if such is the case, it would put an end. As when we defer the case to an arbitrator, it puts an end to the conflict. The parties have to participate in a hearing. They have to present their own evidence. At the end of the process, the arbitrator would decide. And it's extremely important to me that any process has to terminate this labor conflict that is clearly and humanly unacceptable to all Quebec people.
That is Labour Minister Jean BOULET. Minister, I'd like to play for you and our listeners a father who's been dealing with this. Michael Musacchio was on with our Ken Connors this morning.
I feel like a criminal. I feel like I have to break into the cemetery to go see my daughter. It's not a lockout, it's a strike. And having the gates locked and putting us in between whatever's happening is not right. Again, it's mental torture. They're using this as bargaining chips for what?
Minister BOULET, have you spoken with any of the family members?
Yes, of course, a few of the family members, and I completely understand the anger, the frustration, and it's why I'm putting a lot of pressure on the parties to terminate the conflict as soon as possible. It's again all Quebec human beings are affected, and the bereaved families are not able to find closure. And I understand what the man told us, and I'm completely sensitive to the situation.
Are there not legal grounds to force at least the burials to resume? Some type of a rule about the length of time a body can be in storage before burial?
There is a law concerning funeral arrangements, and as far as I'm concerned, it's not been violated as of today. But for me, in order to help the families find a clear closure, we have to allow in-ground burials, and it's why I want to put an end to the conflict, and it's why I'm proposing to the parties to adhere to this process of dispute arbitration. So I'm still confident, and I'm expecting a demand coming from the management side as soon as tomorrow, and it remains to be seen coming from the union reps. I'm also expecting that they will complete their reflection, and hopefully I will receive an equivalent demand, and again it would put an end to the conflict.
Minister Boullet, you're coming across as being very measured, waiting on the parties to get back to you. Perhaps you'll hear from them as soon as tomorrow. But what would it take for you as the Labour Minister to kind of say enough is enough and I'm going to appoint? Can you just appoint the arbitrator to bring these parties to a resolution?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Huh? I was impatient since the beginning. It began a few months ago. I appointed a few conciliator mediators. I appointed my chief conciliator a few weeks ago, and the parties were able to participate in a negotiating process that was very principled. They even came to an agreement in principle a few weeks ago. It was presented before the General Assembly of the union employees, and it was rejected at 58%. So, but they were able to get going, to get closer. So I was expecting the case to be settled more quickly. They came to an impasse or a standoff, and it's why I decided to meet them up as of today, and the rest of the story.
How thin is your patience, though? How long are you willing to wait to hear from the two parties about binding arbitration?
Again, they were negotiating in good faith. It was a principled negotiation. The mediator was able to get the parties closer. So I was very optimistic that the agreement in principle that was accepted by the parties would be accepted by the General Assembly of the unionized employees. It wasn't. So I had to wait for the parties because I relied upon them to find the best settlement, and it's the way we have to negotiate the renewal of a collective bargaining agreement. So, but at the end of the day, when it was clearly, when it has come to an impasse, I had to intervene. As you know, as the Minister of Labour, I have to behave like a facilitator, and it's what I did to my best today.
Minister Boullet, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day, huh?
Thank you. Stay dry.
Thank you.
That is Labour Minister Jean Boulet, who was talking to us about the impasse in labour negotiations at the Notre-Dame-des-Neiges cemetery. We're going to keep an eye on this for you. Sounds like, Trudy, that they may hear by tomorrow morning whether the parties want to go to an arbitrator, and then he would pick someone to do that. Sounds like he's been appointing conciliators, people to help nudge them towards something, but an arbitrator would, I guess, have more powers to kind of lay down the law. Felt like we couldn't pin him down, though, on a timeline. That was not super clear. In any case, it is a really difficult situation for those families. I spoke to Michael Musacchio, who you heard from a little bit earlier yesterday, and it really just sounds like such a painful thing.